Today we are going to explore together how to set up a FDS scenario from scratch using zero coding. We are going to achieve this goal using only open tools, so it's going to cost us $0 and it's going to be using a 3-core software. Of course, we are going to use FDS 6. We are going to use then a nice user interface with the Blender, and the plugin that is going to help us to develop all the FDS code from scratch right in zero code is the beautiful Blender FDS. Actually, it's called now BFDS. So today we are gonna discover how to set up the simple mesh domain and discover the beautiful feature of vents in FDS. Venting is really important in life. I'll do it, especially when I think about pineapple on pizza. It's always good stuff to do. Please don't do it. On a serious note, today we are gonna see how vents can be really powerful in FDS to achieve a different kind of task. First of all, we are gonna see how to set up a fire. Then we are gonna see how a vent can be used to make sure that the smoke gets out of our domain, so an opening. And then we are gonna see a curious case study on how to use vent for air conditioning and ventilation with a mechanic system. So this tutorial might be too long, so I decided to split it in the 2 videos. The first video we are gonna focus on using vent for fire and create an opening. Instead, in the next video we are gonna focus on air conditioning, heat pumps, and all the possible ventilation system we can create using vents. So let's go and start with the first point. So if you are not familiar with the FDS, this is the website where you can find all the key information of this powerful CFD tool for fire dynamic simulation. You can go in the download section to quickly download it depending on your operative system. And the other beautiful feature is the GitHub page. In fact, if you go there and you have any question about FDS scenario and any specific issues, you can go in the discussion right here and report your issues and try to figure it out with the community how to solve your specific problem. You don't want to miss out in the future new video about using AI to help you clarify what are the errors in your FDS code. So you might want to stay in touch with this channel because I'm gonna start soon creating new AI videos showing how AI can simplify your work to figure it out where are errors in your FDS code. So I would strongly recommend to subscribe to this channel and stay with us. The other tool we are gonna use is Blender. This is his page, and you will see that also in this case the tool is completely free, so you don't need to pay any extra money for it, and you can install it by just downloading the simple installation file and get it started on your PC. And the other tool we mentioned before, it's BFDS. It's right here. If we go and open here, you will see in the page that there is a lot of documentation and there is a lot of stuff that you can grasp just reading from this website. But I guess this video is gonna help you to bring your experience to the next level. So as always, thanks to Emanuele JC for this beautiful tool. In my case, I've already installed the Blender, and if you open it from the first time, it's gonna look like this. The beautiful news about BFDS is that now is an extension, so if you haven't installed it yet, my advice is to go to Edit, Preference, and you need to just go to Get Extension, and if you type here BFDS, I've already done it for you, you will see that you're gonna have the extension popping up here. You need just to press on install, and the magic is gonna happen if you click. The good things about having a BFDS as an extension is that you will receive automatic updates, so you don't need to do much. You need just to enable the automatic features, and you can see that while we were talking, the plugin has been already installed. An advice they can give you is to go to add-on. You will see that BFDS is here, and open this tab. And if you want to use the default scenario that has been developed by AGC, you can just load the default BFDS setting. I'm gonna do it for you, and we are gonna start from it. I've already made a video explaining all the details of this different feature here on the main tabs that we are gonna use, the FDS one and the object and the material one. You can go, if you're not really familiar with this plugin, and watch this video and come back here. Otherwise, we are gonna start from scratch. Don't worry, you're gonna get all the information that you need to have already in this video to start from scratch. The first things that I'm gonna do today is to remove everything. I'm gonna show you today all the key that I'm gonna press by visualizing here all the key that I'm pressing and how I'm operating with my mouse. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is to remove everything from my scenario. So I'm gonna press A, and you see here we get everything selected. So I'm gonna press delete and remove everything. You can see here that FDS tab is there. We can move from different tab to other tabs. If you want to close this section here, you need just to press N. And if you press N again, it's gonna pop up again. So at this stage, I don't really want it. So the first things that I want to create with you, it's a simple domain. So the mesh where all the scenario is gonna take place. So the first things that I'm gonna do is to create a domain by create a first cube. So I'm gonna press Shift A, then go on mesh and select a cube. So if we open this panel here, you can see the dimension of this cube. At this stage, I'm gonna use 1 meter. You will see soon that it's gonna make our life easier in rescaling this cube to define the space of our domain. So let's put 1 meter, and you'll see that by moving the mouse around, that this cube it's slightly below the domain floor, or we can decide that where is the cursor is the center of our domain. It's really depending on you what is going to be your reference system. So I would like to put it a bit up. So I'm going to make sure that this face on the bottom is going to be 0, 0 on the XY axis. So what I'm going to do is to slightly move the location. So what I'm going to do is to slightly move this cube upwards of alpha meter, and you can see that now this face it's right where I wanted to have it. So you can see that the pivot points is this point here, and it's the point where everything is gonna be rescaled from. In fact, if we go and open with N our tabs and we go to items and we start rescaling this cube, you will see that everything is gonna be happening considering the pivots as a reference point. So in this case, if I want to make the domain higher, you will see that we are gonna start going in the negative section of the Blender domain, which is not a problem, but let's go and see how we can move the pivot points wherever we want to make our life much easier in rescaling this domain. I'm gonna put this back to 1 and 1. So what I'm gonna do is to move the pivot points to the cursor point. So it's gonna be right in the center of the origin. You might have the cursor not exactly in the world origin of Blender. You can see here I can move it by clicking in different parts. I'm gonna stop doing it. If you wanna bring it back, you need just to press Shift S and press cursor to the world origin, and it's gonna be recentered here. So to move the pivot point, I'm gonna go to Object, Set Origin, and you can press Origin through 3D cursor. So you can see that the pivot points for our scaling is gonna be now in the same position of the cursor. So we are happy with this. What we are gonna do it now is see the effect of the rescaling. So now you can see that we are rescaling when we go up towards only the upwards of the domain. We are not going in the negative parts. Let's set up a room space that is gonna be 4 meters on the X axis. I'm gonna put 3 meters on the Y and 3 meters on the Y axis. So now we have this nice cube that is gonna become our mesh and domain for the CFD simulation. So if we want to rename it, you can just double click on it and press domain. The next step we need to do to transform it in a mesh is to press here in object. Then we are gonna go to the FDS property of this cube. We are gonna select mesh here, and you can see that the cube has been disappearing. And here you can see the property of the mesh. So you can see that now the domain is not having is isotropic cubes. It's using a different kind of shape. I'm gonna make sure that our domain is gonna have cells of a dimension of 10 centimeter. So knowing that on the X sides it's 4 meter, we need 40 cell here. On the Y, we will need 30. And on the Z axis going up, we are gonna need instead 30 again. If you wanna show the geometry, it's not gonna give you much of visualization of the cell yet. I'm gonna ask probably Emanuele to add this new feature, so it will be nice to see all the little cubes visualized here in domain. But this is gonna be really useful instead if you use the mesh multiplier, or if you decide this mesh in a different domain in case you wanna have a really large simulation. In that case, you can assign every mesh to a single processor. So depending on the core of your computer, you can have the simulation running on multiple processor and speed up the simulation. So in this case, I'm gonna leave it on a single mesh. In case you wanna split it, I'm gonna quickly show you. For instance, we can split it, adding two mesh by splitting on the zeta axis. You press on the show geometry, hide geometry, you will see the difference appearing here. And you will see also here the two domain with the different names. So let's go back and remove the split and leave it as it is. You see that now we have a single domain. So the next step that I'm gonna do is start looking at adding some stuff in this scenario. So let's put, for instance, a burner together. So to add the burner, we need to add a new object. I'm gonna do it by pressing Shift A, cube. And in this case, we are gonna still have a cube of 1 meter. I'm gonna slightly move upwards of 0.5 meters. So it's gonna be inside our domain. So it's in the location that I really wanted it to be. And let's see what else we can do now. So the geometry is there, but it's not yet an FDS object. So we need to go here and select that is gonna be a OBST element. Then what I'm gonna do is to change his name like burner object. And then I'm gonna click on XB. Here you will have a different option. Given that this is just a simple box, boundary box is gonna be okay. If you have any complicated geometry, you might need to use either the voxelation, or you will need to use a completely different element from here. You will need to use geom. That is a new feature introduced in FDS 6, if I'm not wrong, that allow you to have a more complicated geometry in FDS, going beyond the classic Lego domain. So boundary box is selected. Let's go and see if this is reflecting the geometry by press on show geometry. You can see that it's a cube, the selected element, and we can go and see also the code that has been generated. So this is the line of code that has been just added to our FDS simulation. Of course, we can go and change the property and material of this element. You can do it by selecting here surface ID, and you can see here that there are different surface for FDS. We can select inert, so you will see that it's gonna get the color associated already to that default surface for FDS. But you have also the possibility to go in this section by pressing material and start changing the property of the original inert, or even create a completely new surface from scratch. We are gonna do it in a few seconds for our burner. So we are happy with this geometry. If we wanna see how it looks like already in FDS, can we do it? Of course, yes. It's not gonna simulate any fire. To do it, we need first of all to go to the scene property. In this case, you can see that the name of the scenario is called example case. We can call it FDS test 1. And this is gonna change. You can see here it has changed all the name of the FDS file. The other important things that you need to bear in mind is to check the simulation time. In this case, we can leave it for 10 seconds. It's not gonna make any change because we are not gonna simulate anything. To run it in FDS to make sure that there is not any bug, we need first of all to save our file. I'm gonna do it if I go to save and save our Blender file. Once you have saved the file, then you can go in this tab here, and if you don't see it here, don't forget to press N and it's gonna be appearing. We press on FDS and then we need to go to run FDS. You will see that FDS is gonna start complaining because yes, we haven't changed here from the default setup. It's telling us, you're asking me to use 2 processor, but I just see 1 mesh. So good call, FDS. Now that we have changed these to only 1, we can actually even unselect them. We can run FDS. And you will see that it's gonna run smoothly. It's gonna take just a few seconds to simulate 10 seconds because we are not actually doing anything in the scenario. So we can go and press on open smoke view, see what's happening in the domain. So you can see that our cube is now there in the center. So we are going the right direction. So the next step that we are gonna do is to put a burner right on the top of this cube. How can we do it? It's gonna be really easy. So let's start with generating a Blender mesh. So Shift A, and we are gonna use, in this case, a vent is gonna be a flat surface, so we need just a plane. So a plane that is definitely not gonna be 2 meters. We can go here in this tab and put 1 meter, and we can already move it on the top of the burner. A trick that I can give you is to put it slightly above the cube, so it's not gonna be obstructed by the object. So if we put slightly off dimension, it's gonna be much more easy to have a look at it in Blender and select it instead of selecting and having problems. Of course, you can do the change here. So in this case, we can call this plane burner vent. So the burner vent is here. To change its property and actually transform it in a vent, we need to go here in object and go in the name list here and select vent. So the next step that we need to do is to put a surface that is a burner surface. So we are gonna soon go and see the property of this burner, because it's gonna be the key part on which we put the information about our fire dimension and growth. So the next step is, after defining the surface, is gonna be to go to XP and select faces. So let's go and see if we have a code, and you can see that now the vent code has been already generated for FDS. So the next step for us is to go and have a look at the property of the burner. So now we have already selected a burner from the library that it was here, and let's go and have a look at this property. So this is the standard setup that has been put there. What we can do is to leave it as it is, but of course you can modify depending on the size of your fire. We can, for instance, double click on it and double the dimension of our fire by putting 10 instead of 50, and the growth rate can be modified in 2 different ways. So in this case, it can be done by using this parameter. I'm gonna actually remove it and use my favorite one, ramps. So let's go and have a look how we can add a ramp. So to do the trick, I'm gonna basically cheating using AI. Back in the day, I was writing this code from myself. Now I start using more and more AI to get this task done, and then of course double check all the code. So I'm gonna use this customized ChatGPT that I created on FDS. If you wanna have a pre-release access, just let them know in the comments, and I'm gonna make sure that I contact you and share with you the link. It's not yet publicly available, and it's much better than using the standard ChatGPT 5. So what I'm gonna do is to use this simple prompt, extract the AI tool of what I want to do, and let's go and have a look at the results together. So you'll see that because in a thinking mode, it's gonna take a bit of time to go and check all the knowledge that I put in this customized ChatGPT dedicated for FDS. It was relatively easy to create. I'm gonna soon make some videos on how to create your customized ChatGPT, so you really wanna be staying in touch with this channel, so don't forget to press the bell and subscribe. So you can see that the burner ramp has been already created, and I was telling FDS GPT to create a ramp that have a fire starting at 3 seconds, then a spike to 100% at 10 seconds. Then I was asking a decrease from 20 to 25 seconds. So it seems that it did a really good job. And here it's showing me a surface example that it's using this specific ramp. So in my case, I'm gonna just copy this ramp and add in this section right here. And the burner ramp ID is this one. We need to make sure that it's connected now with this vent. If we go back to GPT, you will see that it was trying to show us how to connect a surface to that specific ramp. This is gonna be the property that we need to add to our surface. So let's copy it and go right here on the plus button, double click and type it out. So now we should be pretty much really good to go. And we haven't specified the fire property. I'm pretty sure that in this case we still have the one of the default scenario. So if we go to scene and we scroll at the bottom, you will see that the fire property set up by the default scenario by Manuel GC is here. Of course, if you're trying to simulate a different kind of fire, here is the part where you put the information about the formula and the soot yield, CO yield, heat combustion, and stuff like that. Where you can find it, guess what? The best place to go is scientific literature or SFP handbook, which is including all the key information about these parameters. Let's go and run FDS. So this is a really good sign. There is no error here. So the simulation is running. So we need to wait a few seconds and go and check what's happening in the simulation, opening smoke view. So smoke view is here, and to have a look at the simulation results, we need to right click on it, load 3D soot density. You can see that the smoke is not generated, and then after the 3 seconds, you can see that the vent is start burning. If you want to see the fire as well, you go here and you press on HRR PUV, and there you are. You have a really simple FDS simulation starting from scratch with zero almost line of code. So the next step, as I was mentioning at the beginning of the video, we have still 2 points left. We are going to create an opening to make sure that the smoke can get out of the domain, and then we are going to play a bit with vents to make sure that we can use it for other kind of purpose like CFD simulation of air conditioning, heat pumps, and whatever you like. So let's go back to Blender and make the next change. So as I was mentioning before, we want to create a new place where the smoke can get out. There are different ways to do it. I'm gonna still using the simple and easier for me way to do it. It's gonna be by create a new plane for a new vent. So Shift A, then go to plane. I'm gonna still keep it 1 meter, and I'm gonna start moving on proximity of this surface. So I'm gonna start moving on the X direction. You can see the pivot should be 2 meters, so we're happy with it. And then of course we need to rotate it 90 degrees. So I guess we are gonna rotate around this angle. Good guess, Reno. 90 degree. And of course we need to relocate it and rescale it depending on the dimension of our door. So I'm gonna press somewhere here, and you can see that the plane is here. Then if we go to item, we have the possibility now to move it on the position that we want. So actually don't really need to change the Y. I'm gonna shift this opening somewhere. Let's assume that we want to have an opening that is 2 meters. I'm gonna put it 1 meter high, and we are gonna expand it. Consider that this is the pivot right in the middle. So we are gonna go rescale by using one of these two. I was thinking about zeta, but it's because the zeta is 0 for a plane and we have been rotating. We need to figure it out with these 2 scalings, which one is the appropriate. It seems that the X is gonna do the work for us, and as I mentioned, it's gonna be 2 meters. So you can see that now the vent is here. If it wasn't right on the domain, we'll start having a problem because every vent needs to have an object or boundary on which we need to apply it. So it seems like in a good location. What we are gonna do now is to go right here on object and select once again vent. Vent is here, and the other things that we need to do is to apply the right surface. So it's gonna be an opening, and guess what? We have it already in here. So we don't need to do much to change it. And the other things that we need to do as before, press XB and faces. So we can go and see if the code has been generated, and it looks right to me. Of course, you can go and ask the AI if there is any problem, but in this case it's pretty straightforward. I don't need to do any other checking. So what I'm gonna do now is to make the simulation time a bit longer so we can appreciate the impact of the vent on the far simulation. So I'm gonna go to scene and change the property of the simulation time here to 60 seconds. And after doing it, I can go back to the FDS tab and run the new simulation. So it seems that FDS is happy, we don't have any error, and you can see that it's running. Let's go and see on smoke view what's going on. There you are. We can see that the opening is right where we wanted it. So you can see the simulation is almost ready. Unfortunately, we can't really see what's going on with this vent, but I can guarantee you that the smoke is getting out of it. Another things we can add to quickly assess the impact of a vent or assess if the simulation is working right is to add a surface. So let's go and do it quickly together. So to add a surface, I want to have a surface that is cut in the domain right here and slicing everything right in the middle. So I'm gonna do exactly what I've done before. Shift A, add a plane, and I'm gonna move this plane a bit out of the way. I'm gonna move it over here. I'm gonna rotate towards using the X axis 90 degree, and yes, it's slicing exactly where I want to have the information. So we can go here and call it slice velocity, and we can, if you want, also create a second slice about temperature. You can select this element, Ctrl C and Ctrl V. And in this case, we have another slice exactly in the same position. I'm gonna call it slice. And it seems that it's doing a good job. Now let's go and change the property of this slice with FDS property. So I'm checking on the temperature one. We need to go here, go to slice, and select the quantity that we want to visualize. This case is temperature. If you want, you can also have vector. Because temperature is a scalar, it's gonna show you vector flow fields. So the other things that we want to go and check is the slice about velocity. So we need to change here from object to slice. And if you check here on quantity, you can even see some suggestion of what you can have. In my case, I'm gonna just put velocity. And if I misspell it, I'm gonna have some error from FDS. I'm gonna select vector and run the simulation again. So you can see that we don't have any issues. So I didn't make any spelling error. AI is really beautiful when you get in this kind of loophole that you don't know where you did a mistake. Most of the time it's just because you typed something wrong and you need to specify or rewrite something in a proper way. So it's really powerful tool to check and debug your code and support you for this kind of little issues. So let's go and open the smoke view. So smoke view is here. Let's go and see if we have the possibility to visualize now the slice. We need to go to load, upload, slice. You can see temperature and velocity are here. I'm really curious to see the temperature, what's going on. So it seems that we did some mistake on the slice because it's not slicing through the plant. Let's go back to the simulation, learn together from our mistakes. I think this is the most empowering way to learn something. So the location is okay. Probably I didn't select something. The element that I forgot to select, it was this tab here on planes, and I should have done the same for this vent too. So let's run again. Actually, let's stop the simulation and run again and see if now we have the slice where we actually wanted to have. That's the best way to learn, guys. Just get stuff done and learn and get experience with these beautiful tools. There is no perfect common straight line to learn and get the goal of knowledge. So let's go and have a look at the smoke view. So smoke view is here, and let's hope the slides once again, and hopefully this time it's gonna work fine. Yes, it's working. Another approach to visualize the vector that we selected already right here is to go here to vector slice. In this case, I'm gonna select velocity, and you can see now that the vents is actually working. And probably this is the best way to appreciate the impact of opening in your FDS domain. You can see that there is a floor going outside the domain because probably there is pressure building up here, and it seems that it's working fine. Instead, in this exactly same geometrical opposite position, you can see that close to the boundary there is no flow because there is no possibility to go through the domain boundary. So it seems that the vent is working. So we have already done 2 of the 3 steps we were talking about. We have been already using a vent to simulate a fire. We have been using a vent to create an opening in our domain. Final point we are going to cover with the next video, part of this tutorial of vents, is going to be how to create AC unit and heat pumps. So you don't want to miss out and click to this video. So we are going to be back with the second and final part of this vent tutorial. See you to the next video. Bye.